We found a nice domain name, so we decided to make it something universal. We were called something local before. Mad About Comedy describes a global business that we want to introduce. As Nalin said, the issue facing comedians is that the internet has not helped them in the way it's helped everybody else. The problem with it is comedians putting material online is giving away the material. It's like a bullet that's been fired. Once you've heard the joke is over. So they don't want to put their material online. A musician puts his songs online, actors put their movies online. That's great, it becomes more popular. Everybody wants to listen to them more and more. Jokes are not the same. So we haven't benefited from the internet like everybody else has. Stand-up comedy will be a billion-dollar business by the end of 2020. However, it's plagued by problems of the last century. And those problems are, have I got a clicker here? Those problems are, like I said, they don't want to put the material online. It gives the game away. And the trouble with that is also that other comedians can steal the material. This has been a big problem for comedians around the world. You'll find very little online among circuit comedians, because they don't want to give away their material. That's their livelihood, that's their product. They don't want to give it away for nothing. Also, venues and promoters, because they want to keep prices down, they'll use the inferior comedians. They'll use the cheapest ones. The guy at the pub on the corner, the bar on the corner, he decides to have stand-up comedy one night. He calls a local agent. He says, I want comedy on Friday night. He says, what's your budget? He says, $100. He sends an email out to all the comedians in his database, a job at the pub on the corner for $100. First one to say yes gets it. And there's nothing to match the audience with the comedian, which in the age of political correctness is a big problem. Comedy is also a very subjective art form, so the internet kind of bites comedians in the rear end. Because while people don't want to see the jokes ahead of time, if they don't have a good time, it's far easier now to complain than it ever used to be. And we all know that people tend to complain a lot more online when they're unhappy than they do compliment people when they're happy. So the internet has actually become a bit of an enemy for comedians being so subjective. I've had people come up to me after a show and say, that's the best show I've ever seen. And then the guy behind them will say, that's the worst show I've ever seen. And it was the same show. So it's very subjective. Because promoters and venues sell generic comedy, in the age of political correctness, we're in with problems. We've had comedians actually sued around the world, taken to court, and they've been awarded against the comedians tens of thousands of dollars for making a joke about the wrong person. And that has got to stop. We've got to get to a point where people going to the show waive their rights to be offended in that way, because this is comedy, this is just a joke. Everything you hear in the room during a comedy show is not meant seriously. Obviously there are limits to that, but within reason. Comedians have little or no opportunity to create a fan base, and that's because where they can use the internet is on Facebook and so on, Twitter and Instagram and all those things, which works very well for them, but they can't put their material on there, but at the same time, it doesn't allow proactive access. Those things are notice boards. If somebody happens to be looking at your feed when you put your thing up, they'll see it. When you put your post up, they'll see it. Otherwise, if they're not looking at that particular moment in time, they won't see it. So, unfortunately, you end up with no proactive access. Unless at the highest levels of the industry, comedians are not involved in the sale of their product at all. It's all agents and promoters, only people like Russell Peters and so on. So it's time to get us into the 21st century. It's time to make sure comedians, who at the moment are earning probably less than 4 or 5% of what any particular show might earn, it's time to make sure they get their fair share of that. And here's how it works. We want to create a marketplace. What we want to do is provide, obviously, followers, fans or followers, direct access to the comedians direct access to the followers. Also, we want to create other apps. This guy might create a following in Bangalore, and he might look on the system and find another comedian who has a lot of followers in Bangalore. He can contact that guy, say, let's sell tickets together, let's do a show together. They can share transportation. It's an Uber for comedians. Comedy clubs and venues, we turn the tables, we put them in touch with the comedians. The comedians can now choose a venue and say, I'm going to bring a show to you rather than somebody else bringing me to you. Accommodation. Comedians in Mumbai can say, if you're coming from Bangalore, you can stay with me. That's a big consideration. They spend a lot of money on transportation and accommodation when they go and do shows. And down the bottom here, merchandise. A big one for us. They can sell t-shirts, the caps, the mugs, and all those things to go along with it. And we can sell Mad About Comedy merchandise at the same time. And also there's two interfaces. Comedians can directly message their fans, tell jokes every day, like a fun Facebook if you like, and the industry interface where comedians can interact with each other to sort out transport, to sort out selling tickets in the same places, to sort out accommodation. We're going to leverage technology to build the platform, obviously. Going to use the founder team. I've got many years of experience, many comedians, and my very good friends, close friends. That's how I know about these problems. We're going to set up a global support operations centre, obviously, and small local ecosystems, a manager for Mad About Comedy in each location. So there'll be a guy from Mad About Comedy in Mumbai, a guy from Mad About Comedy in Bangalore, a guy in New York, a guy in San Francisco. And we'll also enter strategic types for revenue streams. A big one for this will be festivals. Obviously, each comedian will have a database, but we will have the master database. So we have 1,000 comedians with 1,000 fans each. We've got 1 million comedy fans around the world. We can find out who the most popular comedians are in Mumbai. We can do a festival. We can put those comedians on. In New York, we can do the same thing. We have access to the data that we need to do that. It's going to grow fast. I'm not going to bore you with those figures again. These are the revenue sources. Ticket commissions, we take a commission on all the tickets the comedian sells, there's merchandise, and so on. Festivals, a big one, database leveraging, and so on. These are the numbers. If you want to talk about the numbers, we can talk about afterwards. Basically, all the lines go up, otherwise I wouldn't be showing them to you. Thank you very much. That's Mad About Comedy.